All right, Shalom Israel. Once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Lord willing, this lesson be edifying, straight to the point, and I will entitle this one, Waymo, Oppression Coming to Babylon the Great. And this comes from something that I was listening to the AM station 1010 Winds, and I heard about this story, and on the matter of fact, fair use. I'm gonna play this video first. All right, this is for educational purposes only, and then I'll go from there. But I first heard about this on the AM radio station 1010 Winds, and it prompted me to look into it and do a lesson. And also forgive me ahead of time. I gotta start saying that. Forgive me ahead of time for whatever you may hear in the background. It's that's out of my control, unfortunately, due to the area that I'm in. You might hear dogs, you might hear cars, you might hear gunshots, you might hear helicopters. Forgive me ahead of time, because it's just something that I can't help. Sometimes I go in my vehicle and I might drive to the park or somewhere to do a video, but I gotta not today, not right now. So forgive me ahead of time, Salakia.
And Waymo getting ready to bring its driverless cars to New York City.
Yeah, the company has been approved to begin testing in parts of Manhattan and Brooklyn, and local cab drivers are not happy.
Fox 5's Meredith Gorman is here now with a closer look at both the ways that Waymo's support and opposition are working together. Meredith.
Bianca, well, self-driving car company Waymo has gotten the green light to start test driving their autonomous vehicles around New York City, and many taxi and livery drivers in the area are not happy about the potential consequences of this. Now, New York City drivers protested earlier in front of Governor Kathy Hochul's office, calling on Mayor Eric Adams, Governor Hochul, City Council, the NYPD, and the Taxi and Limousine Commission to halt the approval of Waymo's driverless taxi testing in New York City. This comes after Mayor Adams approved the testing of Waymo driverless vehicles in parts of Manhattan and downtown Brooklyn. The New York State Federation of Taxi Drivers said they fear that 200,000 drivers are at risk of losing their jobs, and that the safety of New Yorkers is on the line too.
We all know what's going to happen. They're trying to replace 200,000 men and women that make this city move today. So we tell the mayor, we tell the governor, we tell the city council, the assembly and the Senate, it's Waymo.
And I'm not sure if it was this guy that I heard on the news report of this on the radio, on the AM radio station, but it was somebody on one of the taxi that represented the taxi the human taxi driver community, whatever you call it, and they said you could tell that, people are getting really emotional and upset over the things that are happening. The decisions that this guy Trump is making, and ultimately the moves that these elites are making to happen to bring about that new world order system. But he said basically, in so many words, keep it up, and we're gonna see how you like it when all of these workers who work in the transportation field stop working. We're gonna take it to the streets. We're gonna shut the city down, and which is like a threat, you know, which makes me think of the prophecy in the Apocrypha, where it said basically they should take matters into their own hands. I'll grab it.
I'm
Hold on.
African.
Hold on.
But at least I've contributed a bit to New York. I've given New York 3 children who are a pharmacist, a computer guy, a civil engineer. So why take my livelihood away from me?
The Justice for App Workers Coalition also raising alarms about this, saying in a statement, quote, beyond the safety risks, this approval represents a direct attack on the livelihood of hundreds of thousands of working New Yorkers. But with these test drives clear.
And so, you know, they using safety risks, you know, as means of their argument to have their way, to prevent those 200,000 workers from losing their jobs. You know, they could care less about, you know, the safety risks or what's going to happen. They probably, you know, will want something bad to happen from their jobs being replaced with self-driving vehicles, automated vehicles. You know, they care about their livelihood. You know, their world changing for the worse. You know, like that Hamite. You know, he said, I'm African. You know, but through his main way of income, which is transportation. You know, that's how he's been able to showing you that, you know, that it's a lot of money in that industry, you know, especially in New York. You know, he said I'm African, right? He's not of this country, but he raised 3 children here. One a pharmacist, one a what he said, political engineer, some shit like that, and a computer guy, right? So and he said, well, I'll take my livelihood away from me, you know. So ultimately they care about their way of providing for their family changing, you know, their stability, you know, which provides structure and order in their life, you know, being changed, you know. And some, you know, they're used to being able to depend on taking care of their family for decades, you know, by one way of income. That's, you know, now that way of providing for their family is being threatened. So hold up, that's it on that, right? Waymo, formerly the Google self-driving car project, makes it safe and easy for people and things to get around with autonomous vehicles. So this is part of the elites looking to establish their new world order: one world government, one world money system, one world government, one world money system, which was going to be implemented through the micro chip, the fulfillment of the MOTB, the mark of this beast-like system in Revelation 13:16. One world religion, one world military, right? Or army, whatever have you. And so hold on, Salakia. Let me keep them from keep calling. Bear with me 1 second. Baba Kashah. So, and I first heard about this. I saw somebody promoting it. I don't know if they was set up to promote it, or they were just posting, you know, it out of excitement, like, oh shit, this is new, this is trending, it's something cool, you know. And I think they was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I don't know if it was a Uber they got these self-driving cars out there. I don't know if they just testing them to see how it is or what, but all together, right? The fourth industrial revolution, all right. Part of that is making everything digital, all right, and replacing human workers with robots, all right. You know, when you conduct most of your business now, you got to go online. You got to go online to make court dates. You got to go online to pay for things. It's best to go online when ordering things. When you want to speak to someone, it's always some automated voice system, all right. And they make it so difficult to speak to an actual live agent, man. It's very fucking frustrating. You know, and that's the way of the new world, and they trying to force it upon people, and you gotta make you feel like, it's in your best interest, or you have no choice but to get used to it. And so, see, goddamn demons, I ain't moving. So anyways, this is Isaiah chapter 24 and 1, right? Because again, the title, Waymo, oppression coming to Babylon the Great, all right? And Waymo meaning way more, but the Lord has a sense of humor, because the company is called Waymo, right? And it's clearly a form of oppression, all right, on the masses of the people, on citizens. This whole change, this whole shift in how things used to be done, the world as we know it being changed, really for the better, all right. But people who lack understanding, is going to see it as a change for the worse, for the wicked. For 2/3 of our people, is going to be a change for the worse, because it's going to lead into their destruction. All right, for these heathens, it's going to lead to their destruction, and captivity. It's the beginning of them serving their 1,000-year period of hardcore slavery under the Israelites. All right, beginning with the elect, the 1/3, beginning with the 144,000. All right, a part, a part of this is all a part of the process of Esau, Edom, the nation, the so-called white man, being brought out of power, and all these heathen nations that are in power with them. All right, so the economy is collapsing. The dollar is being brought to nothing. It's going to be replaced. All right, it's not going to have any use in this world. All right, and these are all, again, part of the judgments, all right, or plagues that the Lord has set leading up to the day of the Lord's judgment, all right, which is known as the end of the world, the end, not the end of the planet, but the end of the world as we know it, and how it's being ran. So Isaiah 24:1, it says, "Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty." All right, in the subheading, judgment on earth. "Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof." All right, and so this is what the Lord is going to do. It doesn't mean literally empty, but the population is dramatically or drastically going to change and be brought. It's and I think it's like 6 billion people, something like that, on the face of the earth, and that number, and these elites themselves, they want to bring the population down to and maintain it, under 500 million, if I'm not mistaken. which is a dramatic and drastic change in itself, And so when you take a few billion people and knock it down to even that number, 500 million, the world is going to be empty compared to what it used to be. So it's not literal, but it's symbolic for how drastic and dramatic that change is going to be. And make if it waste, right? It's going to be because of the destruction that the Lord is going, because that's how the Lord is going to cause this dramatic and drastic change in the population by way of thermonuclear missile strikes, being the icing on the cake of the Lord's destruction on the earth. And so it's gonna be total chaos. Ain't nobody. It's not gonna be no order and structure. Ain't nobody gonna know what to do. It's gonna have to be rebuilt. All right. Until the Lord establishes that order and structure on the face of the earth, no one is gonna know what to do. No one is not even going to begin. Not even know where to begin to make use of what's left. All right. It says, and turneth it upside down. Right. So, the scriptures say the earth shall shake to and fro like a drunkard. All right. And, when you turn something upside down, you make it's a dramatic and drastic change. All right. So now really things are being turned right side up because the order and structure of things is upside down. The nation of Israel is at the bottom. They're supposed to be at the top. The nation of the so-called white man and biblical Edomites, that's the wicked of the earth, pursuing Job 9:24, is supposed to be at the bottom. All right. Obadiah says the Lord had made them small among the heathen. All right. The scripture speaks about them being the bases of men. All right. And how the Lord hates, that nation so much that he marked them with leprosy. All right. Which is a curse in itself. All right. To lack pigmentation to your skin. All right. That same mark that was put on Cain. All right. The nation of so-called white men, the biblical Edomites, all right, beginning with their forefather Esau was cursed with leprosy from birth because he, Esau, who birthed the nation of the Edomites, which is a nation of so-called white man today, the spirits that are dealing with them is the spirit of wickedness, all right, the spirit of evil, all right, and ultimately they are the physical counterparts of Satan, the spiritual demon, Satan himself, all right. And so therefore they were made to be the wicked of the earth. But as a curse to the nation of Israel, the Lord set them up, all right, as well as these other heathen nations, to rule over us, to prevail against us in war, all right, and to take us into captivity, all right. And we're still in captivity today under the nation of the so-called white man. But anyways, it says and turneth it upside down and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. So it doesn't matter your status, your reputation. It doesn't matter if you're unemployed, if you got a job, if you have money, if you have a bank account, you don't got no money. It don't matter if you work in a bank. It don't matter if you're a tax collector, right? It don't matter if you an employee, if you were a boss, it don't matter if you a pastor in church, all people are going to be affected by this shaking up of the earth, by this drastic change that the Lord is about to, through the judgment that the Lord has set. Verse 3, it says, the land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord have spoken this word. All right. So ultimately, right, the nation of Israel sinned against the Lord, and part of the consequences was the curses. And part of that was for, again, our enemies to rule over us and for us to be driven out of the land, scattered across the four corners of the earth. All right. And the nation, and for a while, the land of Israel had little to no people dwelling in it. All right. Until these devils brought about established I think you had Ishmaelites dwelling over there, but until these devils after World War II, all right, set up the state of Israel through the what they call a Holocaust, all right, which was really a hoax, a staged event to set up the nation of so-called white man in the land as the original people of the land, looking to deceive the world to believing that they were fulfilling the prophecy of the people of the land of Israel, making that return. All right. Part of, white supremacy. All right. And part of the devil just being the deceiver that he is, looking to deceive the nation of Israel above all nations on the face of the earth, so that they could remain in power. But anyways, so verse 3, it says the land shall be utterly empty. All right, so that happened to the nation of Israel, but that same judgment is coming to America as well. The Lord destroyed the people of Israel, destroyed the land, all right, and he's going to do the same thing to America, because America America is where the most wickedness, is where the most sins are taking place on the face of the earth. This is the headquarters of the devil. All right. This is the belly of the beast. All right. The main destruction and the main salvation is going to take place here in America, which is known as Babylon the Great, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. All right. As well as Nineveh. All right. And all of the greatest, wickedest kingdoms in history. And so the land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled, right? Meaning everything that, all the success and all the things accomplished and built here in America is going to be lost. It says, for the Lord hath spoken this word, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. All right. Hold up. This is 1 Corinthians 7:31. Says, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. All right. So the trends, all right, the trends, the ways of this world, all right, the fashions, what's hot, all right, the way of doing things, okay, the world as we know it, and the way it's being ran, the way it's being programmed, is going out of the window. America is circling the drain. Americanism, feminism, all the ways of this world, the Esau, Edom ruling the earth, all right, is circling the drain. It's passing away. It's dying off. All right. And so understanding that, and why is that? Because the kingdom of heaven is about to be established when Yahushua makes his second return, delivering and bringing salvation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000 other nation of Israel. All right. So again, everything being turned upside right, but in the eyes of, in the minds of those of this world who is for this world and against the Lord, their world is being turned upside down. All right, a change for the worse. But for the elect, it's a change for the better, and so we're instructed, we're commanded to what? To use this world, all right, but not abuse it. So you want to do the bare minimum. You don't want to be too invested into this world. You don't want to be taking up a bunch of overtime hours. You don't want to you don't want to be having children. All right, you don't want to be living as if it's going to be as if you're going to live out the rest of your days in this place. You're supposed to be hastening the day and hoping that Yahushua crack the clouds. All right, that the nuclear missiles, the day of the Lord's judgment comes about as soon as possible. All right. So it says the earth mourneth. All right. So knowing that this is prophesied, this is what is foretold to happen in the near future. All right. The result of what's about to happen is that the masses of the people of the earth is going to be sad. It's going to be upset. It's going to be mad. All right. It's going to be emotional. It says the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth, meaning grows weak, and fadeth away. The haughty people, meaning prideful, of the earth do languish. All right, they're growing weak. The most pride and haughty people of the earth is the nation of so-called white men. All right, they say the Americans, you can actually look this up. The Americans are the most prideful people on the face of the earth. They viewed America, their country, and their people as the greatest people on the face of the earth. All right, even though this is the most toxic and confusing place, polluted place on the face of the earth, morally, spiritually, physically. All right, they said a lot of foods that's eaten over here, all right, is labeled is banned in other countries. All right, a lot of the ways that's allowed, a lot of the ways of life that's allowed over here is it's harsh consequences, for the for sodomites, for those involved in the acts of the alphabet community. Again, the foods are banned. They say that Americans are more have more body percent, more body fat than pigs on average. All right, and that's because of the foods. And so these other countries look at Americans as lazy, fat. All right, and the only benefits of America is to take advantage of it. To that's why these foreigners, they come over here. They set up their businesses amongst you jakes, all right, which which are looked at as the most destructive, the most lazy, people, but we're the greatest consumers. We spending the most money over here, and we're making these a Chinese man, a Hamite African man, a Ishmaelite, a so-called Arab man. They come over here and they exploit us. They exploit our communities, our neighborhoods for our disorder. For our we're materialistic. And even though we're at the bottom of the bottom, all the money that we do make, we spend it on folly. We spend it on bullshit. We spend time. We spend a lot of money trying to keep up with the Joneses, like they say, trying to keep up with the trends and fashions of this world. All right, even though we can't afford it. All right, and we make these so-called immigrants, so-called foreigners, rich. They come over here, they set up their businesses, and they send all their money to their countries. But it says the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. So all of these things are changing. All right, these nations that have came over here and gotten rich and take advantage of the American economy, they are, like you saw that Hamite, they're complaining. They're growing weak. They can't. Their world is changing for the worse. All right, and it's affecting them. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Verse 5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. So that's twofold, right? Because the land, the earth is actually defiled. All right, it's polluted. It's not producing good crops as how it's supposed to. Because of the wicked ruling the earth. They're taking advantage. They're sucking the earth. They've sucked the earth dry of its resources. All right, they're sucking the people dry of their energy, their time, their spirits. All right, this world under the vibration, under the rulership of the wicked of the earth, it's totally polluted. It's totally filthy. It's totally corrupt. All right. You're supposed to keep the land Sabbath and give the earth a time to recover, from you taking of the crops, taking of what the earth produces. All right. And so that's why, everything under this devil's vibration is cursed. The whole earth is cursed. All right. And that's why they have GMOs, genetically modified foods. That's why they are looking for alternatives to provide, to make food, even though it's being made in the lab, because the scripture speaks about how a famine is going to come to the land. All right, it's going to be a shortage of food and shortage of water. All right, because things are so polluted. All right, and fucked up, filthy. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Again, so who's the rulers amongst the inhabitants of the earth? The nation is so-called white man. It's because of them. All right, that the earth is not producing the crops how it's supposed to. It says because they have transgressed their law. So now, again, because the laws wasn't given to them, the laws was given to the nation of Israel, and because the nation of Israel broke those laws, sinned and worshiped the gods of these heathen nations which don't exist, which hold no power, our enemies, beginning with the nation's so-called white man, has been set up as a curse, has been set up to rule over us as a curse. It says, change the ordinances, broke the everlasting covenant. So the nation of Israel did this. The consequences of that is what we have today. Verse 6, it says, therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burnt, and few men left. All right. And so this is going to be the end result of the nation of Israel sinning. All right. Breaking the law, statutes, and commandments. The nation is so-called white man, the biblical Edomites being set up in power as a consequence to our breaking of the law, to our sinning, to our rebelling against the Heavenly Father. All right, disobeying His commandments. But again, they were set up to rule for a period of time, not forever. All right, as a lesson to be learned for the consequences of going against the Heavenly Father, all right, of the nation of Israel. But the ultimate sacrifice or price has been paid, all right, for the taking away of the sins of the nation of Israel, which only the elect are going to be able to be forgiven of in the day of the Lord's judgment. The end of this big lesson of us, this big lesson needed to be learned for the nation of Israel before the kingdom of heaven will be established. So this devil was doing exactly what he's supposed to do. All right, it's the nation of Israel, as the Lord said, what if we will all face the east and pray, the Lord will bring the kingdom in a snap of a finger, in a blink of an eye. Unfortunately, only 1/3 of the nation of Israel will face the east and repent and pray to the Lord. And so those are going to be the only ones that the Lord is going to save in his in due time, in his time, a time that he knows only. All right. And this is what the elect are waiting for. All right, for the Lord to destroy this earth by way of fire. All right, and save the elect, the remnant, the few that is going to be left. There's going to be, again, the earth's population is dramatically and drastically going to change from however many billion people is on the earth to, we don't even know how many people is going to be left. All right, but we know that it's going to be 1/3 of the nation of Israel saved. All right, 144,000, 12,000 from each tribe is going to be delivered as the heads of the nation of Israel under Yahweh Shai. All right, and you're going to have a remnant of these heathen nations that are going to survive, that are going to survive for the purposes of being the first slaves to clean up the earth and build up the kingdom. So again, it says, therefore have the curse devoured the earth. All right, so again, the consequences of breaking the law, statutes, and commandments is the curses that you can read in Deuteronomy 28. All right, and the nation of so-called white man is a part of that curse. All right, themselves being inhumanity being in existence, period, is a curse on the earth, and their vibration, their influence has spread across the four corners of the earth, and therefore the earth is exceedingly polluted. And that's why in the kingdom of heaven, once the 1,000 years of hardcore slavery is over, they're going to be exterminated by way of fire, and they're not going to be allowed to exist. Right? Therefore, the earth will be clean. The earth will be righteous, perfect. All right? There won't be any use for wars or anything. So this whole example being made with the devil of the earth is to see what earth would be like. This is hell on earth. This is the closest you're gonna get to hell. All right, the place where you go under the ground and burn forever is a cunningly devised fable. It doesn't exist. The closest we gonna get to that is what we have now. All right, this is the place where you are forced to endure seeing your loved ones suffer, and there's little to nothing that you can do about it. All right, this is the place where the Lord is going to cause a fire that's going to burn up a lot of people, all right, and there's little to nothing that you can do about it, all right. You can't even save yourself, or we can't save ourselves. Yahweh Shah has to save us, and the only way we can be saved is if we're elect, we're chosen, and to prove that is to produce works that proves your faith. All right. So, anyways, Salakia. Verse 6. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate, meaning empty. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burnt, and few men left. All right. So it says empty, but it actually, again, it's talking about the dramatic and drastic change in the population. Verse 7. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. Right? So the state and condition of the masses of the people is going to be changed dramatically and drastically. All right? The prices are going up. All right? And so it's going to be more difficult to afford all things, including wine and liquor. All right. And when people purchase wine and liquor, they're not going to purchase it for the means of partying. They're going to be desperately looking for it, because it's going to be more like medicine unto them. It's going to be relieving to their stress. All right. And on another level, you have alcoholics, and when it's more difficult to get their fix, their nips, their pints, their bottles of wine, all right, it's going to cause it's going to cause violence to go up, robbery is going to go up, all right, and things are going to be much more serious. Okay, so it says the new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. All right, and so people are used to being happy. All right, they're going to be stressed out. Verse 8 says the mirth of timbrels ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. All right, and so that's talking about music. All right, music is going to come to an end. Verse 9 says they shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. All right, so let's read that real quick in the easy English. Verse 7, it says there is no new wine, and the vines are dying. So again, the earth being polluted, all right, it's not producing those crops how it's supposed to. All right, wine, grapes included. Grapes, you need grapes to make wine. All right, it says there is no new wine, and the vines are dying. The people who were happy to drink the wine are not now sad. And now this is also twofold. Wine represents truth, right, or a form of the truth. All right. The scripture says what? Hold on. Isaiah 29. Isaiah 29:9 says, stay yourselves and wonder. Cry ye out and cry. All right. We're supposed to wonder and complain, all right, about why the world is the way that it is today. All right. It's so much chaos, disorder, all right, going on, wickedness, all right, violence, all right, going on, that you supposed to stop. All the elect have or will go through this process, and while everybody is running in a rat race, while you supposed to be running a rat race, you stop. The spirit of the Lord makes you stop and think, like, hold up, something ain't right. Something ain't right. You complaining, you try this ain't work. You try this ain't work. You try this, it might be working, but it don't feel right because you're doing some straight off the wall wicked shit. All right, and your conscience, gets the best of you, and you stop. It looked weird in the eyes of the world. You might have been selling drugs, and out of nowhere you just stop, and for a period of time you it seemed like you're not doing nothing. Remember, they say the streets is watching, because everybody don't only the elect know what's going on. Only the elect have been fulfilled with the understanding of what's going on in the world. Everybody else is still confused, and so when you confused, right? The scripture speaks about groping, how they grope in the darkness. When basically, if you cut the lights, if you in a place where lights is on and then all the lights cut off, you don't know where you at, and you can't see nothing. You're gonna be searching around for that light switch to cut the lights back on. All right. So, but in the meantime, you grabbing on to any and everything because you don't know what's what. You don't know what's what, and so you desperately looking for the truth. You desperately looking for the light, and so it's just like human nature, right? They say misery loves company. People who are miserable in this world and confused, they look at everybody else in their life. They're programmed to be nosy, to not mind their business, but mind the business of everybody else. All right, keep up with the trends and topics. Who's sleeping with who just got a new record, record deal, who just got signed to this team, $1 million contract, whatever the case may be. Everybody is watching everybody, to in the status, to see how well they're doing, as means of trying to be led in a direction of betterment, and so when you stop, when you keeping up with the Joneses, you running in a rat race, right? They're gonna talk about you regardless, okay? And so when you're doing good, people gonna talk about you. When you're not doing good, people gonna talk about you. People gonna always watch, all right? And so when you stop doing what people are used to seeing you do, they look at you like it's something wrong with you, but anyways, this is something that all elect has to go through and will go through, right? They're gonna stop in the middle of everything, right? Wonder, like, what the fuck is going on, and cry. They may even cry literally from the oppression, from the confusion, like, what the fuck is going on? I know I did. At one point, I'm like, man, what the fuck is this? I'm trying to, because I felt something fucking with me. I was desperately trying to, be successful in wickedness, all right, which I saw from the outside looking in be done easily with other people, but now it's my turn to do. It's like, why the fuck is it so difficult and so hard for me? right? And so I got frustrated. I got arrested one time. I had let me Salaki, I gotta close this out and making it too long. I had a certain amount of drugs on me, and before that, I just knew that I was on a roll to being successful in what it was that I was doing, and then I wound up getting locked up. And the way that I got locked up was crazy. Salaki, quick testimony. I was the area I was selling drugs in, right? It was crime infested so much that the state police had was given their own headquarters amongst the city police. All right, basically, you could look it up in the city of Irvington, right? And so this was early 2000s, all right, and they don't have that headquarters anymore because I guess they got crime under control. But I guess crime was so bad that state, stolen cars was crazy. A lot of drugs was being sold. Irvington is a small city, all right, and so it was too much wickedness happening for the local police to be able to handle it. So they sent in the state troopers. Now the state troopers, they had their days where they would patrol or do these sweeps or raids, the most. All right. And so when, if you was selling drugs or whatever wickedness you was doing, stealing cars, whatever, right? If you were planning, it was in your best interest to fall back from your wickedness, whatever it was, all right, while state was patrolling, or most active, all right, on the days or times that they was most active. It was in your best interest. Niggas knew, like, state out, you see them beasting. That's what niggas used to say. When you see state beasting, you might as well just fall back. You will be a dummy, right? Or you really had to have some type of sophisticated system going on to where as though you really, you still busting cells, or you still doing wickedness while they out, because they was beasting, right? They was pulling everybody over. If you walking, they checking you, stopping, frisk, right? And so, I had a pack of drugs, and I knew state was outside one day, and I said, everybody knew it. They say, "Oh, you put your drugs up." I say, "Yeah, I put my drugs up." I made sure I put my drugs in the safe, right? And I told myself, "All right, I'm gonna go around the corner with these niggas, chill with them for a minute, right, until state stop beasting, and then I'm gonna go finish doing what I was doing, right." And so before I went around the corner, my girl, my first baby mother, she said, "You put your drugs up, right?" And it was like it was like 3 people that asked me, "You put your drugs up, right? You put your drugs up, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." In my mind, I was fully persuaded that I put my drugs up. So I went around the corner. I was with my cousin. I walked around the corner. I knew state was out. I knew the chances of them checking us was great, right? But I wasn't worried about nothing. But I did have a blunt that I was smoking. And so, and this was before weed was legal. And so I guess they start fucking with us because I was smoking a blunt. And I wasn't worried about nothing. They like, "Oh, you just smoking some weed?" I'm like, "Yeah." I ain't doing nothing. Just, we just smoking some weed or whatever. So they're like, "Oh, what's this?" They checking it. They like, "Oh, what's this?" I look. I'm really in my mind ain't got a worry in the world, right? I turn and look. They're like, "Oh, a big ass pack." I'm like, my whole pack. I'm like, what the fuck? And so to this day, right, I'm fully convinced. Like, this is the scriptures say, "Think ye not as strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you," right? There's no such thing as coincidences. And this is something that I experienced that nobody else can explain, and I broke down crying when I got in a precinct, right? Not boo-hoo, but tears was coming down my face. I was out of frustration because I felt set up. I felt set up. It felt like something was fucking with me. And cause I knew I put the shit up, but it was like something caused it to pop back up in my pocket. It sound unbelievable, but you don't have to believe it, man. All right, but brothers in the faith, sisters in the faith, in the know, these things are possible. All right, and it's things like this that the Lord will cause to happen in your life to make you stop, wonder, and cry. Right, that's a perfect testimony, right? Because I stopped. I said, yo, what the fuck? And I was already, anyways, I ain't gonna keep going into that, right? And so stay yourselves, wonder, and cry. Cry ye out and cry. Talking about complain. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. All right. So how could you be drunk? How could to the point of stumbling without drinking actual wine or actual liquor? Right. That's what strong drink is. Verse 10 says, "For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep." And this is why the world is in darkness, is in confusion, is so much violence and wickedness taking place. All right, this is why women are twerking everywhere, committing adultery. The men and women committing adultery. While you got moles, sodomites. All right, while these badass kids is running around, while so much drugs being sold and overdoses, and it's just chaos, right? It says, because what? Our people have been put in a deep sleep. All right, we've been lied to as to what our nationality is. We've been lied to about the image of God, the angels, the people of the Bible. We've been lied to about the names of the Lord. All right, we've been lied to about everything. All right, and so we're confused. 2/3 of our people are still in that deep sleep. They haven't woken up to the truth, the reality of what's going on in the world, all right, based upon the scriptures. And so this is what it means to be drunken with wine. I mean, without wine, be drunken but not with wine or without strong drink. Is to be be drunken with lies. All right, that Babylon juice, believing in an American dream. All right, in order to dream, you have to be asleep. It says, and so it says, for the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and that's what led, and that was the result of our enemies ruling over us. All right, that's under the category and topic of falling away. All right, as the nation of Israel, the curses destroyed us so much that we were not only scattered out of the land and across the four corners of the earth, being ruled over by our enemies, while being ruled over by our enemies as slaves, we have been taught so much lies that we don't know right from left. That we are in a deep sleep, and we believe that the world as we know it today is the way that it's supposed to be. We think that is normal. We think that it's going to continue to be like this forever and ever. It says, for the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep. And so it's like getting knocked out. You don't got punished so bad that you lost consciousness. You got knocked out. It says, and have closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, the seers have he covered. And so this is why we this is why this devil has been able to lie to us about the truth of the Bible, because the Lord took away the ability to see the truth from our rulers. all right, the men of our nation, all right, those who are set up to lead our people, all right. It says the seers have he covered, the prophets, those who the Lord dealt with above the kings in ancient times, all right, those who the Lord spoke through, all right, in the flesh and gave messages to the people, all right, to governments that were, or kingdoms that were about to be destroyed. The Lord had put the nation of Israel in a deep sleep. Verse 11, it says, and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. All right, so the understanding, all right, of the prophecies, of the dark sayings, all right, the breakdowns, all right, even the milk, the simple things of the scriptures have been sealed, have been locked, all right. They for a period of time, but now it's unlocked, all right. The 7 seals. When you seal something up, you know, you locking it, you closing it up, you know, you making it non-usable, all right. And so spiritually, the scriptures, the understanding of the scriptures, the prophecies, the understanding of the prophecies were sealed up, all right. And now, because it's time for the elect to wake up, those seals have been loosed. It says, which men delivered to one that is learnt, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he said, I cannot, for it is sealed. All right. So, again, there was a period of time where we couldn't understand this truth. We couldn't understand the scriptures. We could read the scriptures all we want, but we believe that God, the Messiah, all of the people of the Bible were all so-called white men and women. All right. But now we have the understanding that the book is talking about us, our people, that the Heavenly Father has a body, all right, and his body, according to Daniel, you know, has color, you know. Yahweh Shai, his own, who the world in calls Jesus Christ. All right, we know the correct names. We know the Lord's name is Yahweh. We know his only begotten Son name is Yahweh Shai. We know that that all men, Adam and Eve, you know, were originally men, people of color. All right, and so all together we know the truth. All right, the lock, the seal has been loosed. So, again, Isaiah 24:7, the new wine mourneth, right? Matter of fact, I was up here in the easy English. It says, there is no new wine and the vines are dying. All right. And so, the new wine represents a new form of truth, all right, or philosophy. All right. Hold on real quick. Let me see. Is it 18? Revelation 18 and 1. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That's the results of America, which is known as Babylon the Great. In these last days, the Lord is going to destroy it by thermonuclear missile strikes, all right, resulting in 100% of the land being engulfed in flames, resulting in it being turned to what the scriptures call it, the lake of fire, all right. And when the fire is complete, is done burning after a very long time, the land is going to be uninhabitable, right? No one is going to live here. It's going to be turned to nothing but a desert, in which desert-like creatures are going to live here. Verse 3, for all nations, right? This is the reason why this place is being destroyed or is falling. All right, it says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. All right, and so it's not talking about literally all nations have drunken of this wine, all right, which is referred to as the wine of the wrath of her fornication. It's talking about the philosophies, all right, the lies, the beliefs, all right, pushed from America to all these nations of the earth, all right, and that's how their new world order. That's how they're going to. This is how they're going to have the means to push their new world order from having these nations of the earth that are in rulership along with them, confused, drunken off of their philosophies, their lies. They believe in being led by their ways, all right, their or what they look at as truths, or the benefits of following their lead. All right, so we talking about what democracy. All right, we talking about philosophies such as women were created equal with men. All nations were created equal. All right, what did it say? One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and so through these philosophies, through these belief systems, the earth is drunk. Their perception is distorted. All right, they're not functioning correctly. All right, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Right, it says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. All right, worshiping these coming together, all right, against the truth of the Bible, the prophets of the Lord, all right, coming against the names of Yahweh, Shem, Yahweh Shai, all right, establishing the new world order where all nations could worship whatever God they choose, or better yet, because their new world order, part of their new world order is a one world religion. All right, and that one world religion is ultimately going to be Satanism, one way form of fashion, and ultimately by receiving that micro C-hip, you're giving yourself over to Satan. All right, that's going to be actually become that's going to be the way of you bowing down to that one world religion. Now you might be under the impression that you worshiping God, the right God, under different names, Allah, whatever the different names may be, but ultimately all the names of these false gods which don't exist are under the spirit of Satan. All right, so ultimately you worshiping Satan through different names. All right, and receiving that micro C-hip is going to put the icing on the cake, the seal on the deal. You're gonna be locked in at that point, of worshiping Satan, of worshiping, by conforming to the image of the beast, right, which is the new world order, by receiving that micro C-hip, that market is beast-like system. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, the merchants is these nations, again, like that Hamite, that so-called African. He showed himself, he said, I'm African, but, basically I contribute to this society. I raised three successful children who are also contributing to society in a positive way. All right, one is a pharmacist, one is a political engineer, whatever the fuck he said, and one is a computer guy, right? And so that was an example of these merchants, all right, these Arabs, the Chinese men, these nations who it's you got the natives of the land, all right, which are Israelites, all right, this so-called North American Indians, the so-called Mexicans or Latinos, all right, the so-called Seminole Indians, all right, you have them, then you have the wicked who came and conquered this land, who stole this land, all right, from the natives, and then you have the southern tribes, the so-called Negroes who were dragged over here, all right, and forced to be a part of this place by way of cargo slave ships, all right. These are the people who built up this place as great as it is today. And so the merchants are all the nations that came and got down for business and to exploit this place off of business and pleasure. All right, merchants off of business. All right, like merchandise. All right, merchants sell merchandise. People that sell incense and colognes, and they may have a food station set up outside. What they call street food. People selling hot dogs, hamburgers, or shish kebabs, or the chicken over rice. All right, is the merchants. It's either Elam, the so-called East Indians, right? They got the liquor stores, and they be having a lot of liquor stores, and they have gas stations, right? You got Moab, the so-called Chinese men. They be having jewelry stores, like beauty supply stores, and fucking Chinese food stores. Ishmael, right? The so-called Arabics, right? They be having chicken shacks and so-called halal places, halal spots, and they make money off of these masjids, and they be having liquor stores too. These Hamites, right? A lot of there be landlords, they be selling cars, taxi drivers, right? Sticking to the point, right? Taxi drivers, so yeah. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, mind you, they're drunk. They've drunk of the wine of her fornication as well, meaning they're in that same spirit as them, all right, looking to, be wealthy, be successful, all right, and have a good time, all right. Um, and so, hold up, let me go back to the point I was at. And so, 2/3 of our people and these heathen nations are blinded as to what is really going on in the world, and so when this destruction, this fall comes for the elites of this world, they're going to feel it as well. So, verse 7 says, "There is no new wine, and the vines are dying." All right, and so, right, physically, right, so it's talking about the production of goods, period, right, of crops, period, all right, because the earth is defiled, polluted, but also, right, it says there is no new wine and the vines are dying, right? So Americans are used to having, they're used to ups and downs, different presidents come in, the economy may be doing better than it used to be, all right, and then it'll do worse, all right. And so, Americans is used to these changes in the economy, but this as they bring about their new world order, this change is going to be like nothing they've ever seen before, all right. And this change is going to lead ultimately to the destruction. It's going to lead to the day of the Lord's judgment, all right. So their plan to establish their new world order is going to come about, but it's not going to reach its peak, all right. And things are going to, the change that's about to happen is going to be permanent. It ain't going, the scripture speaks about if Babylon could be healed, hold on, or Egypt. No. Hold on. Hold on, Salakia. Okay, Babylon, Salakia. Jeremiah 51:9 says we would have, hold on, let me see. Okay, Babylon. Okay, again, right? I start at 7. It says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken, right? So going back to that wine, right? Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, meaning what? That the Lord set up this country, America, which is known as Babylon the Great, to be as great as it is, all right, has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken, all right, that has spread its influence of deception, all right, has distorted the perception of reality of these nations, all right, that have made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad, are confused, and are pissed off. All right, because they've been lied to. All right, and they are being led to destruction. All right, ultimately, they got these nations believing that they have a chance in the world in having peace. All right, having some type of rulership or everlasting success, all right, in the near future, when in our reality, the Lord is coming to cause this permanent, drastic, and dramatic change, all right, for the embedment of the nation of Israel. Really, all these nations except for Esau is going to be good when it's all said and done after the 1,000 years of hardcore slavery is over. These heathen nations are going to be happy as hell, man. They're going to be as perfect as can get for mortals, all right? But they have to, everyone and everything has to lose whatever they have built up, because it's all being destroyed. It's all fading away. Babylon is subtly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. All right. And so, America is circling the drain. America is wounded and it's about to die. All right. It's about to be totally destroyed. All right. And so, and people see it. People see it. And you have people trying to stop it. They're trying to heal it. They're trying to patch it up. All right. Verse 9 says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the sky. So the Lord has a limit in which he will allow wickedness to reach. All right. And that's why the Lord brought about the first destruction on the face of the earth by way of the flood in the times of Noah. All right. Because the wickedness reached its peak. All right. This is Genesis chapter 6 and 5. It says, and Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented that the Lord, that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air. For it repenteth me that I have made them. So the Lord is the same way now. The Lord is pissed off at the inhabitants of the earth. All right. And if the Lord didn't make promises because the Lord is bound by nothing but his word. All right. And so the Lord can't lie. And so he made promises. First of all, it was his will. It's his will for humanity to inhabit earth. All right. But through righteousness. And that's what it's going to be. All right. When it's all said and done and the kingdom of heaven is established on the face of the earth, the Lord's will be done. All right. Perfectly. All right. But it had to go through the process of the Lord being pissed off from the rebellion of humanity, beginning with the nation of Israel. All right. And so the Lord had to and will, all right, bring about his judgments, the consequences for sin and for wickedness, all right, for evil. And he's only going to save a remnant. All right. It says just like the days of Noah. It says, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Next verse. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. All right. And so the results was what? That only Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth and their wives survived the flood, and everyone else, all right, was destroyed. Okay. So back in Jeremiah 51:9, it says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. All right. And so the Lord has had enough. He's fed up, and he's going to bring about this destruction. And there's multiple judgments, all right, leading up to the ultimate destruction or judgment, all right. And in the process, people are going to realize that America is done and finished, but they're going to continue to try to fix things. Like Trump, he calls himself trying to make America great again, all right, to restore, to bring it back to its greatness which it once was, all right. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So back in Isaiah 24, and 7, there is no new wine and the vines are dying. So there isn't gonna be any new philosophies, all right. These devils are not gonna have anything else to help the people be comforted. They're not gonna be able to come up with any new laws, all right, any new ways to distort the people's perception of reality, all right. The time of awakening leading up to the kingdom of heaven is at hand, all right. And the ways of this devil is getting played out. It's not going to work, So there is no new wine and the vines are dying. The avenues, the way that these laws are produced or held up, all right, these religions, all right, these different tactics, all right, are dying off. It says the people who were happy to drink the wine are now sad, right? So at one point in time, the merchants, these nations that come over here getting rich off of America, at one point, our people was happy being niggas, being real niggas, being street niggas, all right, being hoes, being Christians, being Jehovah's Witnesses, being Muslims, all right, being moles, okay. But it says the people who were happy to drink the wine are now sad because there is no laws that can be told that will bring comfort to these people in these last days. And also what originally people were drinking to celebrate, but now people are going to drink because they are looking for comfort from pain. Verse 8, the happy sound of tambourines has stopped. The noise from parties has finished. The harps no longer make any happy music. People cannot drink wine, so they do not sing. When people drink beer, it's really talking about like liquor, like tequila and Hennessy and shit like that. When people, because it say strong drink, it seems bitter. So going back, Salakia in the KJV, verse 9, they shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Verse 10, this is the point. Took Salakia, it took me so long. But it says, the city of confusion. And what's the city of confusion? America, Babylon the Great. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. All right. And so as this place is destroyed, as the economy goes down, people, the scripture says what, because wickedness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. All right. So people who's going to, not trust each other, is going to distrust one another more and more, all right. That cutthroat dog eat dog, every man for himself. That spirit is going to continue to rise. All right. And you saw an example of every house is shut up during what was it 2020, 21. All right. The time of the jab. All right, where you had the where everyone, where you had to do what they call social distancing. All right, where people had to wear masks. That time, that you saw a glimpse of what is to come, which is little to no movement in the streets. All right, people being scared. All right, people being afraid to go outside for multiple things, because of pestilences, diseases. All right, or they lying, telling you that there's deadly diseases causing more destruction than it actually is. Like we seen before. Martial law is going to be declared. You're going to have an army on the streets. You're going to have curfews. People being afraid to move because they might get shot down for, simple things. All right. You saw, draconian laws. All right. Harsh consequences for crimes that you usually would get a slap on the wrist for. Like Trump is trying to make examples out of people for burning flags. Now you could receive, I think he's trying to make it like a guaranteed year. You gotta spend a year in jail, all right, for burning a flag. And he tried to make it seem like that's something light, but that's something you gotta spend 365 days. And he said without no chance of getting out early, you gotta do a whole year, 12 months for burning a flag. All right, and that's an example of those draconian laws. Scripture say he spoke as a dragon. All right, those harsh consequences for the simplest things. So the city of confusion is broken down. And so what? Through the laws, through the disorder, you got different laws in different states. All right, you got part of the confusion is what? Division, because there's divisions. All right, the scriptures say that a house that is divided cannot stand, roughly paraphrasing. All right, so you got different branches of government. All right, you got city police, you got state police, you got federal police, you got federal laws, you got state laws, you got municipal laws, right? And you got, it's supposed to be the same laws for the whole entire earth, but this devil has different laws for different states. All right, so the gun laws, self-defense laws is different in New Jersey than it is in North Carolina or California. All right, so that creates confusion in itself. All right, people could worship whatever gods that they want to. That creates arguments and confusions and all different types of belief systems, and people looking for the truth, they're confused because you got so many different avenues of pursuing truth. All right, it's not supposed to be this confusing. You got men being allowed to transform into women. All right, you got you think that you're meeting a man. All right, but this thing that appears to be a male is actually a woman, was actually born a woman. And this shit is just all confusing. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. All right, and so Babylon. All right, the word Babylon going to the word Babal actually means confusion. All right, which is what America is known. You know, one of the ways of identifying America in the scriptures as Babylon, Babylon the Great. Now, before the total destruction of Babylon, the economy, the society is going to collapse. It's going to take a turn for the worse. Every house is shut up that no man can come in. So now you have actual residential houses, and then you have storehouses, right? Supermarkets, places, buildings, or smaller stores that hold merchandise for merchants to sell, right? Okay, this is Second Ezra 6:18. It says, and it said, "Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh," which means near, "and to visit them that dwell upon the earth." And so that's what the Lord is doing now, through His prophets. All right, going out on the highways and byways, preaching the gospel, giving warning to the inhabitants of the earth. All right, marking people for judgment, marking people for salvation. All right, that's the Lord visiting. That's the Lord drawing nigh and visiting them that dwell upon the earth. The Lord's chariots. All right, what the world enemy calls UFOs or UAPs. You know, those sightings. All right, the scriptures say the eyes of the Lord upon a sinful kingdom. All right, beholding the good and the bad, roughly paraphrasing. I think those two different scriptures, if I'm not mistaken. But these chariot sightings, the vehicles in which the angels traveling, you seeing those more and more are going to continue to increase. All right, that's the Lord visiting the earth and drawing near. All right, because it's these, all of these things are signs leading up to the day of the Lord's judgment. All right, and the more we see these signs, then we know that we are closer to the end. Everything pertaining to the fall of this devil, out of power, their economy, them establishing their new world order. These wars popping off, diseases. All right, violence increasing. All right, these prophecies, the warnings that the men of the Lord are giving you actually coming to life. That's the Lord visiting the earth, jumping down. Verse 22, it says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown." All right, so these farmers, these farms that produces crops, all right, they're not going to produce crops how they supposed to. You got niggas buying chickens to produce their own eggs. All right, because it's wisdom, it's wise. The prices of eggs has gone up dramatically or drastically so much that it's in your best interest to own your own gardens, your own livestock. All right, and take matters into your own hands as far as producing things that you would normally get from the supermarkets. "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." All right, so these supermarkets, right, these corner stores are going to go out of business. There's going to be a famine, a shortage of food and water. All right, in these the Lord is destroying this place inside out. All right, and everywhere that you could think of is being attacked. All right. Going back to Isaiah 24, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, right? That no man may come in. So America is going out of business. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. All right. So people being in the holiday spirit. All right. Being in the partying spirit. All right. Being happy and running around like a chicken with their head cut off. You know, going to parties all the time. All right. That whole spirit is dying out. All right. There is a crying for wine in the streets. So this is talking about how people are going to desperately be looking for something to bring them comfort. All right. Spiritually first, they're going to be, you know, it's because there's going to also be a famine of the word, a famine of this truth. You know, the ability to understand these scriptures and the prophecies, you know, that gives you comfort as far as understanding what's going on, the times that we're living in. All right, people are going to desperately hold on, Salaki. Amos 8:11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. And they shall wander from sea to sea, even from the north, even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it. All right. And so, when the doors of repentance is closed, you're going to have, you know, that's when things are going to ramp up. Things are going to get worse, and people are going to be desperately looking for the men that used to be out on the corners down in the downtown area. Used to be telling you about the Bible or the things that we see happening now. All right. But they're not going to be able to find it. So it says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All right. Yahweh Shai, said what? Drink, this is my blood, right? When we keep the Passover, all right, the unleavened bread, eat, this is my bread. All right, when you read it, it represents Yahweh Shai, all right? And what? Yahweh Shai, he is the way, the truth, and the life. So that wine represents truth as well, right? There is a crying for wine in the streets, all right? So people are going to be looking for that something to comfort them in the spirit, which is the truth, all right? And people are going to be looking for actual wine because they're alcoholics, all right? Because they're scared. They looking for something that could bring them some type of comfort. It says all joy is darkened. People are not going to be happy. And you can see that happening now, man. People are not going on dates, all right? People are miserable. People don't trust each other, all right? People can't afford things. People are losing ways to provide for their families. It says the mirth of the land is gone. It says, and the city is left desolation, meaning emptiness, and the gate is smitten with destruction. All right, the leaders, all right, those that stand up for your rights, all right, is smitten with destructions. All right, so police are going to be losing their jobs. These politicians, they're losing their power. All right, they're getting frustrated. You know, Trump, he's looking to bring about send send National Guard troops to he said Baltimore, he said Chicago, and these mayors, these governors and mayors, they're pissed off, all right? And these things are gonna lead again to a civil war popping off, race wars popping off, all right? Because of the destruction, all right, America losing its power. What I wanted. I read that. Hold up. Salaki. Well, I wanted to go from here. Revelation 18. All right. I might go. Let me see. I know it's stretching out, but hey, this is how the Lord got it going. Revelation 18. So again, right, verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Verse 5, her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh have remembered her iniquities. All right. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. Okay. Verse 11, it says, and the merchants of the earth, right, those who sell merchandise, right, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. And so that's what you saw in that video again with Waymo. All right. Hold up. Yeah, with Waymo, right? People who are into selling things, in different businesses, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. So people are losing their businesses, people are losing their means to provide for their families. It says the merchant again with Trump and these tariffs, all right, taxing these countries who provide this country with certain goods, all right, making it more difficult to receive these merchandises that these merchants sell. All right, it says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple. All right, these these tariffs affects prices, affects imports coming in. All right, and so it causes it's going to cause inflation. All right, the dollar to collapse. You're going to need way more money to buy a loaf of bread, all right, or eggs. We see these things happening now, and so a lot of resources and jobs are becoming more scarce, more rare, more hard to come by. You're lucky to have certain resources or have certain jobs, all right, because this is all part of this drastic and dramatic change happening. It says of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thyine wood and all manners of vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble. Verse 15, jumping down. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing and saying, alas, alas, that great city. See, is referring to it as a city again, right? Which, in the city is where the most business and partying happens at. And that's what America is known for, great business and partying. A lot of people come over here because they could do things that they can't do in the other countries safely. They could walk, they could go to certain parades, certain beaches, ass naked with the same, kissing down someone of the same sex, or trans, whatever the fuck. They could kiss dogs, and they try to make it to as though you could deal with underage girls and boys. All right, and what I mean by underage, meaning you know boys and girls that haven't reached maturity, sexual maturity. All right, but anyways, the merchants of the earth which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, because the Lord ultimately is going to cause that destruction in the day of his ultimate destruction to totally destroy America within 1 hour. 200 million missiles, and each missile has multiple different warheads. So we talking about a great destruction coming here to America. Not only is Russia and their allies going to shoot nukes on this bitch, but also America's allies. All right, and the scripture speaks about that pertaining to the beast shall hate the whore. All right, it shall burn her with fire. Roughly paraphrasing. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off, because America is like Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, said, America is surrounded by nice beach and ocean, right? It's surrounded by a lot of water, all right, and the way that they get their imports and exports is by way of airplanes and ships, ships that travel by sea. So again, man, way more oppression is coming to America, which is known as Babylon the Great. All right, this company Waymo, self-driving transportation, is just a sign. It's just one of the many oppressions and changes that the Lord has coming to America, which is known as Babylon the Great. It stretched, letting it drag out so long. Let me see. Let me make sure I wasn't. And I encourage anyone listening to comment. If I missed anything, if I went off on anything, if you feel like I need to work on anything, let it be known. I am open to interpretation. All right, and I need all the help that I can get. Okay, this is one. Isaiah 13, and I started 13. It says, therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, which is armies, and in the day of his fierce anger. All right, so again, that thermonuclear destruction, all right, that destruction caused by fire, all right, by the nuclear bombs and by the chariots, all right, shooting concentrated fire, laser, to add to the destruction of the fire is going to cause the earth to shake to and fro, to move as a drunkard, all right, and that's so the earth will feel, and see just how angry the Lord is with all of this wickedness. Verse 14, and it shall be as the chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. So the Lord is going to totally take advantage of the earth and the people, all right, that's going to be judged, all right. It says, and they shall every man turn to his own people and flee everyone into his own land, all right. So these merchants, these nations that came over here to have fun and to do business with America are going to, and they're starting to now, they're seeing how bad things is getting, and they going into their own countries, man, all right, where they came from, all right, because they see what's going on, they see what's happening, and it's in their best interest to get the fuck out of here, because eventually it's gonna be more difficult for them to get out, and this is why the Lord is gonna bring about this great saving and salvation for his elect, because we don't have a place to go. You have certain people that call themselves going back to Africa and they regret it. It's nothing that because in our reality, we're not Africans, and the people over there in Africa, they're not, they say some of these people are experiencing racism worse than they ever did in their life over here in America. And so they regret going over there, and they want to come back to what they call home, and they rather deal with the bullshit here than in these other countries, because in our reality, our home is Israel, all right, and the only one that could save us and set us back in our land where we belong is Yahweh Shah, through the Heavenly Father Yahweh, all right, and only the elect are going to be delivered and saved and beamed up, all right, and brought into the salvation of the Lord, which will come by way of spaceships or the chariots of the Lord, which the world enemy calls UAPs or UFOs. Salaki. Shalom. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honor to the